Okay, so let's just move. Just try and feel like prehensile feet. So feet that can grab. So I'm grabbing with my toes spread, and then they grab at the ground as it goes down. So just to activate the feet, really. So we just want a lot of spirit in the feet, because the feet tend to be, you know, a little bit sort of depressed. Like a baby's feet before it's learned how to walk. You know, when you change the baby's nappy, its legs are a lot more active than its arms. You know, all the activity is in its legs and its feet. And we tend to lose that because our legs become slaves. And so just feeling, and just do this, if you do the same thing with your fingers, then it will just stimulate the toes. Yeah, so you'd like your foot to be widest at the end, at the toe end, like a duck's foot. So most, especially my old ladies, you know, because they've worn these stupid shoes all their life, their feet just completely narrow in and they just can't spread their toes. And it gets to the point where a lot of their balance problems is because their feet are just so small. So we just want to make the feet as big as possible, as wide as possible at the toe end. And with this feeling that they're just really spreading out on the floor to give yourself a good foundation. And just always be mindful of the arch. Yeah? So not flat-footed, so really outside edges of the feet. And like you're scooping at the ground, yeah? It's interesting in Hebrew, you know, the foot is the kaf regel, and kaf just means spoon, so the spoon of the leg. So it's the spoon that scoops on the end of the leg. So it doesn't just plonk down in a stupid, mindless way. It's drawing energy up all the time. Every time it hits the ground, it's bringing up, it's making a circulation. It's bringing something up into the dantian, up the inside of the leg. So we just want to establish circulation wherever possible. So John always used to say that diabetes is basically a circulation problem. And remember, we talked about it and just decided that basically everything that's wrong is a circulation problem. So there's not enough circulation within the body. So there's dead space within the body where the energy just can't go because you're unaware of it. But there's also needs to be circulation between you and your world. And for that, you need otherness. Yeah, so there needs to be a potential difference in order to create a flow, a circuit, like in electricity, yeah? So there needs to be a difference between me and the other, otherwise energy just won't flow across. We'll just be slapping each other on the back. And so our world, the world we live in, should demand that we are at our best. It shouldn't allow you to get away with being a wanker. Yeah? And so, Now, this is why, it's difficult, because the people you know will demand that you are the same this time as you were last time. So the company that you keep, they're just putting pressure on you to have some sort of consistency. And in this game, basically, it's all about change. Yeah. So you should be taking people by surprise. So I'm a digger. I'm scooping. I'm making a hole for myself. I'm digging my own grave. It's a great image. Okay, so now let's just bring it to riding horse. And now just let it settle and just feel that roundness in the legs. But basically, you can't get any other way, really. So body as one unit. So what holds us back is that we tend to conceive of ourselves, we think of ourselves as an entity that's perched upon two legs. So we don't really feel the legs as being a part of what we actually are. They're sort of slightly separate, yeah? And that's largely because we become an S-shaped spine sitting on these two legs. Now, what we want to do is really just get rid of the bottom bit of the S, really. So pushing back the Min Meng, drawing in the Dan Qian, so that my legs can really feel that they're part of me. And then this will just be a natural center. This will be where your mind wants to be, because it's in the middle. You'll just feel that's where you're at your best. That's where you're at your strongest. You're most capable. So we're round in the legs. We're round in the arms, obviously. So this is what riding horse is about, legs and arms, but also in the whole body, the whole spine. I have a roundness here. Yeah. So like the cave, it's like you're like a big mouth or a cave, and you're sitting at the back of the cave just watching the world go by. And just getting into the legs, just feeling as though the bottom part, as well as the top part of the spine arching up, the bottom of the spine is really sinking down into the legs. So like you have a tail that's extending, a bifurcated tail. So you've got two tails really, just extending into your feet. You can think of it as going through the legs or actually just being behind the legs. But you just want a real sense of the ground. You know, the ground isn't just something down there. The ground is something that you're in or you're trying to get in to. Just feeling the feet really opening out. And just yielding, every part of you is hollowing. The arms are hollowing, the chest is hollowing, the groin is hollowing, the arches of the feet are hollowing. And that is all drawing, it's all sucking at the world. Feel it, especially in the feet, you're sucking energy up the inside of the legs, into the groin, into the Dan Qian. Yeah, so let's give us those directions that I came across recently in a Tai Chi manual. So sink the shoulders, heavy elbows. So basically heavy elbows is what we visualize to help the shoulders sink, yeah. Loosen the hips. So just really just letting go here, the place where we normally hold on most. That's the place, that's the beginning of Tai Chi really, just learning to loosen the hips. So you're expanding across the sacrum and you're just relaxing the hip joints, yeah. So when you do that, you should naturally have a sense of just sinking into the Dantian, yeah. So this is where you live. And your eyes and your sense organs, they're just like periscopes that have come up from here. And then the final one, which is the most important, concentrate the spirit. Yeah, so just that feeling that you're just coming together and just becoming tough and determined and undistractable. You can't be distracted by what's outside, and you definitely can't be distracted by the shit that's going on in your own head. So you just sort of scan through those instructions. Yeah, it's good to have like just a set of instructions so that when you're meditating or standing, you can just sort of go through them and just make sure that you're not tightening up. The shoulders aren't coming up. This isn't tightening across here. You're not becoming distracted. There'll always be stuff going through your mind. Yeah. You can't stop it. The only thing you can do is not give it any heed. Just realize that there's a deeper part of you that's much more important, yeah? I mean, this is like a privacy. It's like, you know, what's going on in your head, yeah? It's like when you're with a loved one, oh, tell me what you're thinking. And you think, Jesus, if I told you what I was thinking, you'd never want to see me again. And so this is just, it's just you. It's got nothing to do with anything else, yeah? So you want to cultivate the part of you that really gives to your world, not the part of you that's criticizing it, yeah, or commenting on it, yeah. So just your good energy, your big open heart. And just aiming for a circulation, yeah. So you're giving to the world and you're receiving, yeah. Okay. And now let's just move from side to side, but now with a difference, yeah. So normally what we would do is push ourselves into this foot, pull ourselves into this foot, and then when this became full, this would become passive. So what we want to do is just get away from passive. Yeah. So it's full and empty. It's not active and passive. So what we have to do is, as I go into this foot, I just want to push with this foot to make sure that everything has come into this foot. Yeah. So this foot is actually pushing the ground. It's really straightening. And it's quite interesting because it's like when my leg is pushing me, it's just basically it's using force. But then at the end here, when it really drives me down, it's using spirit. You can just feel something. It changes. It changes from just being the slave that's a bit reluctant to actually really becoming active. So it's most active, this leg, at the end of the movement, not at the beginning. So here I press the ground. And just feel it. When you press the ground, you can't allow the leg just to get loose and slack and just let the knee collapse in. You're having to really push out with the outside edge. So, yeah, so what we have to realize is that relaxation is never enough. I mean, it should be enough, but we're so screwed up. We have so much tension that, you need to push yourself through that. You could spend a lifetime just sinking and relaxing and you'd never really get into the ground. You'd be settling on top of it all the time. So here I'm using this foot to really inject myself into the ground. So there's almost a sense that I'm getting more than my weight into the foot. Because there's something very sort of stubborn and sullen about your weight. It's got like this stupid inertia. So I just want to squeeze something down through that. And I find what's good about this is that you have to really sort of integrate the body. So I have to really push back my Min Meng and allow my spine to be the thing that's injecting through the leg, through the foot. And so it just encourages you to sink more bravely than usual. So to extend the sinking. And if you find yourself getting carried away with it, just tell yourself, concentrate the spirit. Pull yourself together. Yeah. If you want an example of concentrated spirit, just watch a Mike Tyson fight. So just before it starts and they come together and just try and stare the other person down. Just that look of inner determination on his face. Yeah. And then just keeping it going and just feeling now the circulation that's going on here. As I push into the foot, it forces energy to rise around it. And there's always a sense that the energy is not quite coming up the same pathway as the sinking pathway. So there's a sense that it's coming up just a little bit outside my body here. Yeah, so this is what this really active sinking, this forced sinking does. It just gets a lot more energy coming up. And this is what's so important, So we want a mind that is just cheerful enough to always notice the up. And so if anything's coming up, it will notice it and catch it and just go along for the ride. Sure. And just make sure your bum doesn't stick out. If it does, then your tail won't be going down into the foot. It will be flailing around behind you, which will give you a sense of spirit. But it's more like an animal spirit. You know, an animal that has its tail stuck up in the air. So, yeah, and just when you get your mind properly in the Danshan, it just feels that you're much, much closer to the ground. I mean, you're not. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you think, oh, it doesn't look any different, you know? But you just feel like you're here. And that's always talking to the ground. It's not talking to the head. Yeah, so there's a fierceness to the sinking. You're forcing it. You're using force in an intelligent way. And it will hurt the legs, yeah? But that's what we want. No pain, no gain. So, yeah, so I'm scooping the ground. Something is coming up from the ground. What John used to call the sea of fire. Yeah, so let's just stand again. So again, you've got gravity is pulling you down. But also you have this inner concentrated spirit that's fierce, like it's wanting to explode, but you're keeping it under control. And just feel the feet. Yeah, so this foot can push either to draw my weight out of it, or it can push in order to create more pressure on this foot. Yeah, so this is what we want, this sense that the sort of two legs are playing with each other all the time, 2 feet. Yeah, so it's a very different mind that presses the ground here in order to push into this foot, and then presses the ground here to push me into this foot. There's something a little bit mindless about just coming out of the leg. This is the thing, you know, where when you come out of the leg, what's the guarantee that you're going to land in this foot? You know, you could land slightly beyond it and lose your balance. Yeah. So we just want that line always clearing itself and establishing itself. And then that's balance. The two legs are playing with each other. They're always equilibrating. And then that, basically, it's central equilibrium. It's the equilibrium between opposites that creates spirit. Yeah. So without balance, there's no spirit. And so we're just balancing these different forces and just waiting and watching and just letting something slowly build up. within the session, but also within the life. Yeah. So this is what I always feel, this is what people don't have nowadays. They don't have vision. They don't have a vision of their life as a whole. Yeah. So they just assume it's open-ended, okay, death will happen one day, but I don't want to think about it. Yeah. So it's very important that your life, the way you conceive your life, is basically like this posture. It's round. There's an end. Yeah. And this sense that you're using life not to just use yourself up and accrue delightful experiences, as John would say, going from one pleasure to the next. You're actually doing work that's actually transmuting the quotidian, the energy of your normal life into something special. So that David Bone, now he was very popular when I was when me and Roberta were young, when we were at university. Yeah. So, scientists were trying to unify quantum mechanics, which is the study of what happens on a really, really subatomic scale, what's happening with the particles that make up atoms, and relativity, which is all to do with the vastness of the cosmos, what happens to light. Light circulates, And the idea, what physicists wanted was to somehow if they could unify these two theories, then basically they'd have a theory of everything. And of course they can't. The mathematics is completely different. It's incommensurable. Yeah, love that word. And so what he came along and just said what's obvious, really. Yeah, that okay, if both of these realities are, we understand them quite well, the different scales, then there must be an order underlying what we perceive as order. There must be what he called an implicate order. There's something underneath that we don't have access to. Yeah? So there's a level of reality that human beings just aren't capable of accessing. Yeah? But you can seep into it. You can sort of become one with it. So this is what meditators, all of the Eastern arts are to do with that. So just feeling the 2 feet. So inside, even though you're standing still, you're prowling. You're sort of, and there's always this sort of turn going on. Yeah, little bit of a twist. Yeah. Okay, now just feel the pythons, so these 2 muscle trains or snakes, which are most apparent here at the lower back, and they reach down into each leg, and they reach up to the head and down into the arms. Yeah. and there's two of them. And they're sort of a bit like yin and yang, you know, they're sort of oscillating and interacting with each other, but they're never symmetrical. They're never doing the same thing as each other. Yeah. And so we just want to feel all the time that we're itching just to twist side by side. And like it is, it's not something in the mind, it's like an inner drive. It is like the libido, you know, that's I'm wanting to sort of just become human, really, just use my body correctly. I don't want to be symmetrical and stuck like a block. Leave symmetry in the cemetery, as someone said. Because basically, you know, that's what symmetry does. Symmetry kills the system. For me, this is what's deadly about meditation. Yeah, you get any serious Tai Chi person, you just ask them, you know, what's the most important principle? Yeah. And you can always tell if they're really onto something, they'll say single weightedness. Yeah. The thing that actually makes it unsymmetrical, this sense of just being in one foot or being in the other, never both at the same time. Because it's that produces spirit. Sitting there symmetrically won't do it. The spirit may wake up, but that's only if your spirit has been woken up by a master. Okay. And now let's just move side to side and just feel the other circuit. Yeah. So it just depends on your mind. Yeah. So when I sink into this leg, yeah, I can either feel this circuit, so I can feel the energy that's right. So the energy of the spring. So when you push into a spring, it will try and force you back. So this is this. I sink into this leg, and the energy will come the other way, and then I just surf it. I catch it and let it take me. Yeah. So that's the one we've just done. And now we just want to get a circuit going this way. Yeah. So as I sink down, there's this sense of the spirit calling you. It's really just an aspect of your own energy. You've sunk down, and because you have these spoon feet, it sends energy up here, which beckons you, and you just go with it. So as I sink into this leg, yeah, and you just have to keep your mind on the sinking long enough to actually really feel it. Because if you try and turn too soon, you'll frighten it away. So you have to be really gentle, really subtle and respectful. So here, ooh, okay. So you feel it's quite a different energy. Yeah, so this is what I call the Tinkerbell energy. So like the energy of the little fairy that's flitting around and just calling your name. Yeah, so it's eliciting a non-conscious response. Yeah. So, you know, like if someone called your name, you wouldn't think to yourself, oh, I shall respond to that. You'd just be round, you know, you just instantly, you'd just be with them. Your heart would leap out to them. This is the feeling here. Something in me leaps out to that spot, and my body sluggishly follows. Way. And you can just get the same, the thing we were doing with the feet, the emptying leg actually really pressing into the filling leg. That just works all the time. That's just almost like forcing the issue. You have to be careful with it. So here, if I really squeeze here, it forces something to. Yeah, so then it sort of loses its lightness, but I think it's important, So I push myself into this leg, and then this leg squeezes something up here, and then I'm across. Yeah. Yeah. So as you repeat and repeat and repeat, it intensifies. It gets stronger. And that will only happen if you have your mind under some sort of control. If your mind starts thinking about something else, the energy is completely dissipated, and you'll be far better off just stopping. Way. And just feel the pythons beginning to sort of kick in. So here, what is it that makes the turn? Okay, I'm being called, but what is it that makes my body turn? It's this python here is just contracting, which is pulling me forwards. And just like you're just connecting your upper and your lower body. This is what we've lost. So this is what all the therapists I know tell me. Everyone nowadays is depressed to some degree or another. And it's largely because they don't let their energy out. They don't use their bodies properly. So an important skill to acquire and just develop through practice is just the ability to imagine resistance to what you're doing. So you've just about got enough strength to do this incredibly difficult superhuman task. So I have to use the muscles in my lower back because I don't have enough strength in my legs and my arms separately. So you just imagine it. And you just let that make you a bit wild. Imagination becomes reality. Way. Okay, so let's just bring it back. Yeah, so when we come to riding horse, we're just like coming back to yielding mind, really, coming back to the cave, to the feminine. The feminine is the receptacle, yeah? And the male is the rod. Yeah? My dad's second wife, she had twins, boy and a girl. And she said when they were young, she was reading about twins. And it said, you know, when you give them building blocks and they start building, the girls will always build enclosures and the boys will always try and build towers. And she just thought, that's just ridiculous. Yeah? And of course, that's exactly what happened with her too. So here it's the round, yeah? But within that, there's this sense of beginning to sort of just come together and become erect. These are called the spinatus erectus, yeah? So something in you is beginning to tower. And this is basically Tai Chi. It's the internal is the masculine, the spirit, and the external is the softness, the feminine, yeah? Okay, and now just bringing in the turning now, but what we want to get away from is basically what we've been doing all these years, which is turning the hips, yeah? Because you can just feel it. As soon as the hips turn, you just lose the ground. You lose everything, really. So what we want is the legs are sort of keeping these relatively still. And I'm just twisting the shoulders, but not by just doing this. I really want to feel these muscles. So I pull here and it twists me round. And then I relax and then I pull here. Yeah, so we just want to feel the determination that's required to activate these muscles in the back. They'll only work if you really mean it. And they never get activated nowadays in a sort of spirited way because we don't need them. There's no tasks in our daily life that require us to be physically strong. And so we become weak. It's obvious if you think about it. So, so you have two tables beside each leg, and you're just lifting something off one and taking it to the other and then lifting it again. And you're just imagining it's really damn heavy. So just lifting it drives you into the legs. So So feel the muscles in the back, but also feel the muscles in the belly. Yeah, so they need to be really quite tight as well to support the back. So yeah, so you have to get underneath this object. So that requires you to get in the leg so that you can scoop underneath it. So exactly the same as if you're going to push your car, you'd get underneath it. You'd get really in your feet and in your legs. But you'd be using the lower back. Because if you didn't, you just wouldn't get the strength of the legs into your upper body. So this feeling. Okay. So let's just bring it back. So back to the cave. So you're inside, you're like a little Buddha with a strong back, just serenely scanning the terrain. So these, unifying the body, integrating the arms and the legs through these muscles, it's not just for getting a strong, capable body. It's also for bringing this under control. Yeah? Because it's only really when your legs or your sitting bones, if you're sitting, has access to this area, can the ground actually just drain you of thinking, of excess mental activity. Yeah? So there's a sense that through these muscles, the ground can reach up into you and actually help drain you of the energy you don't need, the excess that's just making you anxious. And it has to come up through these. Yeah? So as the ground reaches up into you, it just brings you into good posture. It just brings the chest up. So the thymus, that becomes really important. Yeah, so it's just, Tai Chi, it's like it's just full of paradox. It's not really, it's Taoist, yeah? So it's never this or that, it's this and that, yeah? So we have the cave where we're almost collapsing into around us, yeah? But then within that, we have the verticality, the ground becoming like a vine or like an ivy that's reaching up into you. And as these become strong, it just lifts the chest. Yeah. So when you've got a strong body that's been working hard in the right way, the last thing you're going to be is depressed. You'll just have great energy, great spirit, and you'll be relaxed because you'll have worked hard. It's the best way to relax is just work damn hard and then just sit down and think, wow, I'm empty. There's nothing there. All my shit is just drained away. And of course, it's the one thing we don't do. So you have to let the spirit take you. Yes, it's none of this sort of measured exercise, which is so popular now. You see them all with the gear. You know? and they're trudging through the park with their headphones on, listening to a podcast or whatever. Yeah. So zero spirit. Yeah. So you just want your spirit to just come alive and just take you. Yeah. So it's not your body. Your body is generating the energy, but it's the spirit that's the driver. Okay, and now let's just turn. So do this one where we, and again, just imagine you're in water. Or porridge. You're in cold porridge. It's like something that's got like a granular texture. Yeah, so there's a viscosity. Everything is trying to hold you back. Yeah, it's like the world is looking out for you. If you let it, then your spirit rises to the occasion and you just insistently drive through it. Yeah, so to make that turn, to start this turn, I really have to just dig into the ground, make sure I have purchase on the ground. Yeah, so we're trying to get it all from the lower back, supported by the belly. So your waist, it ends up just feeling like it's really trim. Yeah, like you're 18 again. Now, this is why middle-aged people get paunches. This is why they get sort of fat, because basically they just become useless. Yeah? So their spirit has flattened and died, and they're just passing time until the day they croak. Yeah. So we just want so. Yeah, so John always used to say, you know, as you age, inevitably, your energy will wane, your body will deteriorate, your energy will deteriorate, and probably so will your mind, but your spirit doesn't have to. That's entirely your choice. It will change, it won't be quite so aggressive, but you know, the day you die, you should be just as sparkling, or as sparkling as a baby. And there's almost a sense that you become the baby again. You know, your memory just goes, and so everything is just amazing. Yeah. I see it with my old ladies. Yeah. They sparkle. Like Agnes Martin, the famous abstract painter. There's one interview with her, and she just said, I know I'm old and I know I'm going to die soon. She says, I just hope it's during a sparkling moment. Yeah? Which is beautiful. Yeah, so as these muscles become active and become tight, so this whole area feels like a tightening belt, a wide tightening belt. It sort of squeezes a lot up into the chest and the shoulders, which seems like a bad thing for Tai Chi, but it's actually good. It just means that you're activating your energy. So again, like a boxer, you know, see boxers, they've just got really well-developed arms and shoulders. Okay, so let's just bring it back. Yeah, so we're coming back to the cave, but within that cave, there's this sense of straightening up, but there's also now this real sense of twisting, like the snake that's trying to wriggle out of its old skin. And so one side is pulling, one side is pushing this sense, and you're just like climbing a rope. So if I wanted to use this muscle here into the arm, there's a definite sense of it sort of coming out like this. Yeah. So let's just try. So, we've done this lots of times before, just getting ward off, because ward off, John always used to say, ward off isn't just bringing the arm up into this shape. So ward off isn't just the shape that you get, it's the process of getting there. Yeah. And so I'm bringing the arm out and around, and it's coming round. Yeah, so we've done this lots of times before, but now just a sense that this is what's starting it off. I tighten that muscle and it brings me into ward off. Yeah, so yeah, and as soon as you tighten the muscle here, it just connects you to the ground. So it's coming from the ground. If you can't feel it, just imagine it, and then it will come in time. So yeah. So it's bringing something up into the chest and then allowing that to slip down the arm. Yeah, so something comes up into my thymus and then empties down the arm. Yeah, so I'm just bringing energy from the ground through my own heart and then out. Yeah, so this is important. It's important to feel it coming from the right place. Yeah. If you did it long enough, it would come from the right place. It would get there. Because as you got tighter and tighter, you'd have to bring these muscles into play. But we'd like to sort of know what we're doing. Yeah. So this is what people find difficult about this sort of work. It's not just doing different things, different exercises. It's about getting a different mind, getting this really determined mind that could kill. The killer mind, the killer spirit. So something ripples up me and out at the arm. So and as it rolls out, it sort of takes your breath away. It's like, it's almost like you gulp. It's like, ooh, fuck, yeah. It's threatening to really take you off balance. Yeah. So you're taking yourself by surprise. What's coming out of you is delightful, but also a little alarming. Yeah, so you just become different. You become something you didn't realize you were. This is, for me, if it doesn't have that element, then what's the point? And it doesn't take long before you just get a sense of the wings. You know, it's like you're catching the wing and just furling it around. Yeah. And you just let your imagination run wild. You don't keep it under wraps like normal. It's a real sense of this large feathery wing. Yeah. You're like an angel, but a devil inside. Yeah. And if you're working with the feet like we were earlier on, then there's a sense that there's two lines, yeah? Both legs are so different from each other. There's two energy lines that twine up your spine from each leg. So there's a sense of real power and sort of heaviness from here, but there's also a sense of real lightness from this leg. You know, so it's never as simple. It's never this or that. It's always this and that. So we just want the this and the that to be so different that they cannot just cancel each other out. They can't combine into a grayness. They stay separate, but they're twining. They're coiling around each other. Ooh. Okay. So let's just bring it back. And just feel it. You've come back into your cave, which is the big body, the energy body that's more like a sort of just a cocoon. But inside that, you're this twisting, writhing, very, very active. But the mind is quiet, the mind is peaceful. But the spirit is raring to go. There's a new soprano sensation. And what's striking is that it's a man, not a woman. Yeah? He's got such a beautiful voice, yeah. But I just love watching him. There's a lot of clips on YouTube. He's Brazilian, really handsome, but obviously as gay as they come. But just, you know, he's got that sort of just, everything is, he's just got a sense of wonder to him all the time. Yeah? The way he just looks at the conductor and the way he just responds to the energy that's coming out of him. You know, it's just pure sensuality and lightness. Yeah. So things like that, to be able to experience the other and feel them inside you. Yeah. Empathy. Yeah. That's what's really, you know, that should be what makes humans special. Yeah. Not our intelligence. Yeah. That just gets us into trouble. Yeah. Yeah. So nowadays we have healthy bodies because we look after ourselves so well, because we're all complete narcissists. We have flat spirits, weak spirits, because we never do anything that's difficult. And we have noxious minds that basically poison everything they touch, including ourselves. Yeah. So we want a body centered here with these immense muscles here, ready to power us into action. Yeah. The best exercise to get them really is, that rowing exercise that we did last week with the stick, but also just squats. Yeah, so let's just do a few squats. So the important thing with squats is how you come up, obviously. And so as you go down, there's a sense of almost curling up, almost letting the heart drop a little, so that you can spark the rising by really throwing your heart up to the ceiling. And the way you do that is just use these muscles to just throw the head back and look up at the ceiling, and then allow your legs to just squeeze that up. It's like the legs are following the spirit. So let's try it. So just going down into a squat rather than a crouch, and just let the spine crumble a little. And now just throw the head back using the lower back. And now just let the legs just squeeze you up. Okay, so the legs are following your spirit. Yeah. If you do it without spirit, then you're more likely to cause damage. You're more likely to get injured. And not just injuring the body, but injuring the spirit. Yeah. So throw the head back and bring the legs up. So something John said, he said it's very important that you use the spirit to flog the body, but never use the body to flog the spirit. Yeah. So if something inside you just doesn't want to do it, then best not bother. Yeah. So you need a spirit that's light enough to think, okay, I'll have a go. Wow, this is good. Whee! And then you just float up. Something in you just float up. The legs just take up the space. Yeah. So down. And it should be fun, so it's like, whee, and up I come. And just trying to feel the place in the spine which is reluctant to get involved. Normally it's about here. It's where, if you're a female, where your bra would fasten, I generally find, or a little bit lower. Yeah? There's like a vertebra that's not quite part of the spine properly. So you just go down. If you just put your finger there, and then just as you pull the head back, just let that place go in. Yeah. So the reason it's like a dead spot is because we're just not really aware of it. So if you just have someone touching it, and so I lift my head, I get my sacrum underneath it, and then I just let the legs squeeze up into it. One more. Down. And then just back to so all in aid of just activating those back muscles. So they make you brave, they enhearten, yeah? Whereas the rest of life tends to dishearten, it discourages us. So those muscles fill you full of encouragement, enthusiasm, and heart. And so it's like a bravery, it's like a willingness to just step out and get involved. And then you need spirit for that. You need something to sort of lead it. Because you don't want your mind thinking and then designing a path. This is what's wrong now. Everyone's selfish. Everyone's pleasing themselves. Everyone's a wanker. So basically, we just want to be. And who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what's going to come out of this potential event. And so John was so good at, John could create events. He could create miracles, just by walking in the room, because his spirit was just always there. His spirit was leading him. Yeah. And that's just incredibly inspiring. You know, if you just think about, you know, what he did, yeah, there was quite a few of us that basically gave up everything in order to just do what he was teaching full time. Yeah. And this is another thing people won't do now. They won't sacrifice. Yeah. They want this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. You know. Oh, and then I have a balanced life. Yeah. Yeah, balanced life that's going nowhere. Yeah. Okay, let's just bring it up. But now to bring it, what we tend to do, we tend to bring it up with a sense of, oh, thank God that's over. Yeah. So what we want is just like, I'm concentrating the spirit even more. I really just draw my spirit in and bring up my posture so that when I'm standing to attention, that's when I'm most intense, that's not when I've slacked off and waiting for that idiot to say, oh, it's all over now. And just feel it, you know, that there's a you now that's inside, that's active with all this work we've done, that has nothing to do with the ego. It's got nothing to do with what you think, nothing to do with your consciousness. Yeah. It's like an animal inside you. It's the better part of you. So that's the bit we just need to come back to every day. And then over a lifetime, slowly, you switch your allegiance from the ego to the spirit. And so basically each practice session, you know, you just need to practice each session long enough for that just to come alive a little bit. Just to remind you, we're just reminding ourselves all the time that we're human, that we're not robots, we're not machines, we're not members of the herd. There's something really potent right in our essence, in our depths. So the ego is basically a surface effect. Yeah. So to get beyond it, you just have to go through the surface. And basically, I don't know any other way except meditation. And then you just never get lonely. You get pissed off, generally with other people or yourself, but you've just got this core. Which you can always come back to if ever you get emotional. Like Castaneda said, outside sweetness and light, inside as cold as the Arctic wind. There's just a detached stone Yeah, they call it the stone of the Dantian. Okay.